Hey there, it's Sheryl, mental toughness coach, published author, speaker, and mother to a couple of awesome kids who happen to be high school and college student athletes. This is a three-part series titled How Teens Can Take Control of Confidence. This is part one, and it's titled Posture. So the great and courageous poet Maya Angelou once said, "Stand up straight and realize who you are, that you tower over your circumstances." I thought this was a great and really appropriate quote before this short video. Teens seem to be under a lot of stress these days, and the ones that I talk to on a daily basis report that this stress is kind of fueled by a lack of control. Couple examples are maybe will a test be really difficult, or what college will they get into? Will a classmate make fun of them during a debate, or will they win or lose a competitive event? This is completely understandable and normal, and I am totally empathetic. I felt exactly the same way a long time ago when I was a teen. So here's the bad news first. This lack of control and stress that it causes is not so great for confidence. And in turn, it's not that great for teens being able to do their best. But here's the good news. Teens can do something about it. So before we get into the how, we're going to talk a little bit about the science behind the why. It's going to be a really high-level view. We're not going to get super specific in the science, but we are going to talk about it a little bit. Amy Cuddy is a social psychologist, professor, and researcher at Harvard. And she just recently, actually last year, wrote a book titled Presence. She talks a little bit about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system has to do with our fight or flight response. From an evolutionary perspective, this would kick in if there was a saber-toothed tiger out there that wanted to maybe have us for lunch. So our heart rate would increase and we would get really primed to take off and get out of there. The parasympathetic nervous system has to do with our relaxation response. For example, after we eat a big meal. Cuddy talks a little bit about the research of someone named Bessel van der Kolk, and he talks about a really important relationship between the parasympathetic nervous system and the vagus nerve. So he found that the vagus nerve has 80% of its neurons going from the body, the body up to the brain, and not the other way around. So think about that for a second. It's pretty interesting, especially when it comes to what we're going to talk about, what is posture. So here's a couple ways that this relates to your teen and maybe how they can use this information. First, the sympathetic nervous system, as I mentioned, from an evolutionary standpoint, is for or to protect us from danger. So unless there's a saber-toothed tiger lurking in the corner while your teen is taking a final exam, they need to learn how to be calm and focus and fire up that vagus nerve. So usually what happens is teens get very nervous before tests and they unnecessarily trigger their fight or flight response. This can be super distracting, and it can mean many hours of studying down the drain. So posture can help teens feel more confident and less stressed. So a couple ways that they can do this are the following. First, when they're on their way to their test, they can stand up straight and keep their shoulders back and keep their gait really somewhat quick. So in other words, they're not going to slouch their shoulders and take little small steps and walk really slowly. Second, after they put their things down, they can put their hands on their hips and look down on their desk or look down on their exam if it's already there. And third, they can take a nice deep breath in for 4 counts and exhale for 4 counts. Again, repeat number 2, so sit up straight, and of course, always remember to put their shoulders back. And finally, if during the test, if they miss a question or two, it's really important, again, to repeat number 2, sit up straight, put their shoulders back, and really open up their stance and their body. A lot of times what they do, and they don't even realize it, the more errors they make, the smaller they become, and that is really putting them in kind of a fight or flight response, and it's really distracting for them. So it's something that they're really going to need to practice. Whenever they start to feel nervous or worried, instead of slouching down and closing up their shoulders, they need to really sit up straight and open up, and that will really help them be confident and focused. So keep in mind that these tips can also be used before and during athletic events, and also if your son or daughter is going to be asking someone to senior ball. So thanks again for having a look and watching this short video. Next time, we're going to talk about how teens can claim some confidence using movement.